Welcome to this session about the International Fact Checkers Network, IFCN. We are happy to have Ferdi Osoy here. He is Program Manager of the network. He was not the person who invented the word fact-checking, but it's not far away. He was the co-founder of the Turkish fact-checking organization back in 2014, and he has been working at IFCN since 2020. Fact-checking has been growing immensely the last years, and now there are 135 organizations in 65 countries. And we see it here at ARIJ as well, where many sessions are about fact-checking. So, Ferdi, how would you explain this sudden growth?
John, thank you. First off, thank you for the organizers of the event for putting this together and bringing back the community together. Well, my journey started in 2013 when we were trying to dabble with fact-checking in Turkey. There was protests happening in Turkey, which drove us to fight the misinformation that was happening during those protests. So there's a lot of reasons why a lot of organizations start their fact-checking: polarization, world crises, the emergence of social media. Misinformation on social media is the driving force of misinformation around the world. And these organizations come together to be able to combat misinformation in a collective way.
You're talking about misinformation. There was much misinformation during the pandemic. What was your role in this?
Sure. Let me talk a bit about the IFCN and tell you about how we collaborate on some of these things in order to fight the misinformation as a collective unit. Maybe a little bit about my journey. When I started to fact check, we did not know who was out there, what was happening, how many organizations were there. There was a handful of organizations. In 2014, I was able to go to London into a little room with 25 people who were fact checking around the world. This was one of the global events then. Now, this global event has continued. Every year, the numbers of fact-checking organizations continue to grow, as well as our Global Fact event. But in that room, what I saw was a lot of motivated people that had a driving force to fight misinformation. And being in there as a young individual trying to fight misinformation in Turkey, I was motivated. Seeing a band of people creating a community. From that community, from that room in 2015 in Argentina, after the IFCN's establishment was the first real Global Fact event, and we had over 100 people there. As the years went by, this community grew. The IFCN was brought together to develop a collective voice, to network, to build capacities of these organizations. And as you were referring to with the pandemic, bringing collaborations together. During the pandemic, our main program and project we were running was the Corona Facts Alliance. Over 100 organizations came together and daily enter into a database what they have fact checked about the coronavirus. Today, there's over 17,000 fact checks across 95 countries. And this has become a source not only for fact checkers to fight misinformation quickly, but also for individuals who are trying to see what is the facts of the pandemic. Recently, with the Ukraine war, Maldita, one of our leading fact-checking organizations in Europe, banded together with other fact-checking organizations and started the UkraineFacts.org. UkraineFacts.org is another collaboration effort from the fact-checking community of the IFCN that, again, databases the fact checks. But now with this database, we're able to see how the misinformation is able to travel from one part of the world to the other part of the world. The same misinformation that was fact-checked in the US could be found in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East, parts of Europe. So there's correlations of these misinformations around the world. These are some of the collaborative efforts that we have done during these types of crises, but we're planning to develop them even more and go into other issues. Climate change is another one that we want to, because organizations have certain capabilities, and with these databases, we could fight the misinformation as soon as possible.
For many people, for many colleagues, fact-checking is something new. Where can our colleagues find information about the techniques they should use to fact-check a story?
Well, before going into that, let me talk a bit about the code of principles.
Yeah.
Today, Peter was talking about the ocean and how it's a river. There's a lot of streams going into the river. Everybody has their own journeys, and they come from many different backgrounds and many different countries, which shows the variety of the fact-checking world. And this river is brought together by a code of principles. This is how I interpret it in my way. These code of principles are there for organizations not to abide by, but to let their readers know how they do the work. So the transparency of the sources, how they're sourcing their fact checks, transparency of the organizations and funding. They should be able to know the organizational structure. They should be able to know how the organization is funded. Transparency of the methodology. The fact checkers have methodologies when they're approaching their fact checks. This allows the reader to go through the same methods in order to come to the same conclusion. But sometimes we're all human. We make mistakes, and we look forward to our organizations to have a corrections policy and let your readers know how you correct those mistakes within your websites. And last but not least, nonpartisanship. Facts are facts, and we have to be nonpartisan while we fact check. This whole process is brought to us together by an application process, which allows us to vet these organizations to see if they are internalizing these principles, not implementing them, but internalizing them as an organization within their work and the fact checks they do.
Do you have any kind of toolkit?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was just about to get there. After you become a part of this network, there's opportunities for organizations to tap into many different grant opportunities that the IFCN provides its network members, which grows the capabilities of the organizations, the capacities of the organizations. We provide our organizations with a tool bank where they're able to use certain tools in order to fact check. We have free tools that we provide our organizations, but also paid tools that the IFCN purchases in order to distribute amongst its network verified signatories. At the same time, we try to promote the safety of journalism and fact-checking around the world. Recently, we launched the Legal Defense Fund to help journalists who are in legal issues, fact-checkers who are in legal issues in parts of the world where freedom of speech and freedom of expression are hindered. We developed a communications playbook for organizations, small organizations, that do not have comms teams. What happens when there's a crisis? In order to navigate these crises, they would have to tap into some knowledge, and we try to provide those knowledges to our organizations. Last but not least, training opportunities that the IFCN has. Organizations come to us in various different levels. We have free trainings available for the network, as well as private trainings that we from time to time exercise around the world. Last year, we had trainings in 20 different countries. I'm not going to list the name of the countries at the moment. They're not at the top of my head. But Tunisia was one of them, where me and my colleague Elena were there helping the Libyan fact checkers train in the fact checking. So we do provide a lot of organizational capacity building, but really it's the community that drives these efforts from us, because it's the community's voice that developed the IFCN. The community brought together the code of principles. Everyone has a say in how we go forward of doing things.
So if anybody in this audience would like to attend a course in fact-checking, what should they do?
They should just reach out to me, and well, we first have to have a conversation, right? What are they looking for? What are their needs? And there will be an assessment done according to that, and we will talk and brainstorm and see and cater to that organization's needs in terms of the training.
Do you offer any kind of grants?
Yes, throughout the year we offer several grant opportunities, which one of them was spoke about today, the YouTube Global Fact Fund, in collaboration with Google and YouTube. Just to interject there a little bit, last year the community wrote a letter to YouTube saying, "Hey, there's a serious problem on your platform. Let's work together." The IFCN is there to navigate the conversations. So we developed certain work streams to tackle the issue that YouTube was having, and we're still continuing with those talks. The fund is there for us to allow to build, to engage and grow the fact-checking capabilities of the organizations in the network as well as outside the network. This fund is not only for network members, but for other fact-checking organizations who are aspiring to become a part of the IFCN family, as well as becoming a signatory to the IFCN Code of Principles.
We met last time during the Global Fact Conference in Oslo in June. Could you tell us about your plans for the next Global Fact-Checking Conference?
Well, next year we'll be at Korea. It's Global Fact 10. It's not only an event, but this one is a special one for us. It marks a decade journey of this community leading up to where we are. And last year we had almost 600 people in Oslo. And this year we're hoping to have 650 or more. Last year we had over 100 organizations represented in the conference. We're hoping to have more representation this year. We provide grant opportunities, reimbursement opportunities for the smaller organizations to be able to join the Global Fact, because we come from all over the world, and it's not easy to travel from one part of the world to the other part of the world. And then the organization levels, the capacities of these organizations vary. We have organizations who are media giants in the world to small non-profit organizations in Mongolia, in Turkey, in Greece, in Latin America. So there's a wide range of organizations that are a part of our network, which makes it more valuable and allows us to create more and fight misinformation on multiple levels in multiple areas.
When we were talking yesterday, you told me that the political polarization is the driving force of fact-checking. Can you explain that to this audience?
The polarization of political environment creates fears, and fears in turns into misinformation that can be shared in multiple ways. And we saw it in January 6th with the riots at the Capitol Hill. It's not easy to be able to combat misinformation on the level that it's being shared. So these tools and opportunities that we create for the community kind of gives us the armor in order to push forward faster. Tools we develop in deepfake detections, reverse imaging. These are tools that were created amongst us communities to fight the misinformation. So polarization does affect the spread of misinformation. And as we saw, it could be detrimental in many other parts of the world.
Fact-checking and investigative reporting is related. What do you think? What do you think should be the role of fact-checking in investigative reporting?
It's complementary to each other. I mean, journalism. There's a lot of people who say fact-checking is a part of journalism. Why do we need fact-checkers? Well, it's a complement to the work that journalists do. Journalists might write about what's happening in that current place or event or the political speech, but the fact-checker will take that information and digest and break down what has been spoken and bring the facts to be able to bring I don't want to say truth, but the facts to the public of the news. So it's complementary to each other. I don't see it conflicting each other. I think it's the work we do is to advocate for facts, investigating the facts, fact checking. We're just complementing the work that we do. It's not in conflict with each other. It's on the same road path because we're all looking to investigate to bring the facts to light.
We are talking about facts and we are talking about truth. Does these two words mean the same?
No, they're absolutely different. Truth can be everyone else's own truth. You could be really strong about your ideas and what you believe in, but a fact is a fact. You cannot change a number, or you cannot say that this image was during that event, but really it was taking place in a whole different world, in a whole different part of the world, in a whole different year, in a whole different protest, or whatever that event is. So a fact is a fact. The truth can be your own subjective opinion of what you feel is true. So I think the truth and the fact is I don't want to say the truth is the truth, but the fact is always going to be the fact. It's never going to change. Truths can change.
In my country, Norway, they established the fact-checking organization Faktisk. And in the beginning, they were accused of being sort of Ministry of Truth. They have been accused of trying to kill normal debates. Could you comment such accusations?
I think it will only evolve the debates. It will evolve the debates, and it will fact-checking does not kill debates. It allows it to bring factual arguments to the debates. It allows the public to see what are the facts in the debates. Fact-checking is not a way to discredit anything, but it's there to bring and advocate I was going to say the truth, but the fact of what is going on. So in that sense, I'm not sure how I think they were just afraid to tell lies, and the fact checkers will fact check them, and they will let the public know. I think that was their real fear.
Yeah. I'm being told now that we have 7 minutes left. So are there any persons in the audience who would like to? Yes.
Hello, good evening. My name is Bahar Jassim. I'm from Tech for Peace, that we are verified signatories at IFCN. But the only thing that I wanted to, maybe a lot of have the same question. What do you recommend the fact-checking organization in order to be verified or to be as signatories? What do you recommend them to do in a way to be on the right path, right track, to be one of the communities? And thank you so much.
Well, before putting them on a right track, it's a community effort. Reach out to me. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your organization. Where are you? In what stages are you in the development of your organization? Some of these organizations start, and as the time goes on, you can see the level of fact checking, how it has changed from their first fact checks as it goes on. Your question was, what is the path they have to follow? The path they have to follow is the Code of Principles. The Code of Principles are there to guide the work that you do, to help your readers understand the work that you do. Most people don't understand what fact-checking is, and that's there for them to understand. We will be having several new features in our Code of Principles application processes. Applications coming into the IFCN will now, organizations coming to the IFCN to apply to the IFCN Code of Principles will be met with an eligibility criteria to see where they are now. And then we will continue on the conversation to see how we could build the organization's capabilities before actually submitting an application. Most organizations at the moment is an open application process. They can apply whenever they want to apply, but organizations are not ready up to the standards of the Code of Principles when they apply. You know, Tech for Peace, Verified Syria, we had a whole year of discussion. We worked through some of the organizational structures, some of the editorial lines, the methodologies. And after a year, I remember in a meeting with you and some of you in this room, well, the IFCN verified signatory application process is fast, but then you came up and said, hey, it built us as an organization. It built the capabilities. We are looking at fact-checking and we're looking at the work we do differently because of the path you followed. And I appreciate that. And this is what this is. This is a community effort. We band with each other. We work with each other to implement these principles in the work we do. So the first step is send me an email. Let's get to know each other a little bit.
Anybody else?
زين العابدين بن علي منصة
Yemen for fact-checking platform. We in the Arab, we face some challenges in some fact-checking applications because of the Arabic language and not having applications that are there in the English language but are not available in Arabic. How can we overcome such challenges in using these tools? The other issue is that we as fact-checkers in the Arab world, sometimes we're very limited in getting to that our reports would be disseminated, so they don't make it to social media compared to the misleading information and so on. So how can we overcome these obstacles of not being able to outreach or disseminate our reports?
Those are two very good questions that I'm going to have difficulty answering, but I'm going to do my best. In terms of the outreach, organizations, you know, when I was fact-checking, I had to constantly find new ways of engaging people. This could be pre-fact-checking, this could be creating content, video content, this could be, you know, having trivia, in a sense, to engage with the audiences. There's many ways of audience engagement building, and these differ from country to country. There is not one set way of implementing these, but we do offer many opportunities for organizations to be able to tap into different types of avenues of engagement. The grant opportunities, fact-checking development grant that we had a few years ago, helped organizations create an online presence on YouTube by creating YouTube videos, and that fund was geared towards that. The first question, the difficulties of fact checkers in the application process is how I heard that. Yes, we live in a very difficult world, and I am, always will be a part of this region. Fact checking in Turkey and in this region has its drawbacks. We are afraid as journalists. Anything could happen anytime. So we do have safeguards in the application process that protects the well-being of our journalists, the funding of the organizations. There's a waiver for that. When it comes to the biographies of the individuals who are working at the organizations, we could talk about that and see how we could protect the identity of your writers. There's always a way in terms if the safety is the issue, we have mechanisms in place to accommodate these organizations within the network.
We can take one more question. You are first. Yeah.
شكرا.
Two questions. First day, there was a session about the challenges that fact checkers face in the Arab world. So I want to learn more about your experience. How do you evaluate or assess the integrity of open sources, and the other thing is that how do you do with making the source effectuous? So we at times try to hide the source's identity. How can this affect the methodology of the work of the fact checking itself?
In terms of how do we vet these organizations, it's probably been mentioned a few times already today, but hearing it from you is going to be a little different. We approach each country not differently, but with our assessors who are from those countries. I don't know your country's language. I don't know the socio-political environment of your country. I am not the person who will be able to assess that. So we tap into an assessors pool that we have that are around the world. These assessors know the languages, they know the political environment of the country, they know the historical environment of the country. These are very important components of the application process. They are our eyes into the work you do, the fact checking that you do. They provide us with the information to see if what you are doing it adheres to the code of principles. We do not, the IFCN does not vet the applications themselves, but we have our independent assessors who guide us along your journey in a sense to see how you fact check from the first. They will check from your first fact check to the fact check that you have done right before you have applied. They will be able to see the evolution of your fact checks as you go on, because as we do the work we do, we always find better ways to tackle misinformation. So they would be our first, guide into your organization and guide into what's happening in the country. They would provide us with the information, which then is presented to the IFCN signatories. Now, to the advisory board. This advisory board is not any individual that was handpicked from outside. These are individuals that are a part of this community, that represent organizations in this community. They have a voice about who to accept and not reject, but work. Let's work with them a little bit more. They're doing great work. Let's see how we could build their capabilities and bring them up to standards in order for them to continue the work that they do.
So then we are finished. So thank you, Ferdin.
Thank you
for coming all the way from America.
Thank you
to Amman. And if anybody else have questions,
may I say one thing before we close? Global Fact 10 applications will be not applications. Registrations will start in January. I'm hoping to see several of the organizations that I met here, there, and along until that time. Continue the conversations that we've been having in the coffee breaks and everything. I see a lot of people here today, and it's great to see a community being built, and we're building a different type of community. And I hope some of you could be able to join that community in the future.
Okay, thank you.